Yo, so my name's Dr. Dubplate. I run EC2A and I'm going to run through 5 essential DJ tips for Music Radar. So number one is actually more of a record box one. So for me, I find a massive part of making sure that you're comfortable going into a DJ set is having playlists that truly make sense to you. So for instance, I don't really like to categorize my tracks via genre necessarily. I quite like to do it in vibe. So here I've just got a bunch of playlists. So I've got warms in vibe. So I know this playlist is going to be predominantly tracks that I'm going to do to build the energy up at the beginning of a set. Whereas we've got euphoric big pianos and rowdy hard house, which I know is going to be more peak time energy sets. So like the reason I mentioned this as a useful tip is previously when I have been very like particular about ordering tracks by genre, it's very easy to get lost and scroll. So like a good way of just thinking about it is like almost like when you're digging out some records, you might have a stack at the beginning of your well, like at the front of your box, which are like warming vibes, and then more like mid-peak energy, and then like high ending energy. So like here, all of these playlists just really help me to not get lost. And I know that I can just go warms in vibe, and I've got like 22 tracks that are going to be perfect for starting up my set. Whereas if I go into big warps or big edits or euphoric big pianos, these are going to be ones that are going to like sort of help me close the set. But a massive part is just making sure whatever you do, you're really confident in the way that you've like sorted out all your tracks going into the set, because then you know it's just bish bash bosh, easy to maneuver and make your way around it. Another big tip, and I've got this track up here, is just basically leaving markers where, so for instance, on this track, it's by Dismantle, Feds in Choppers. It's a police and helicopter edit. So I put this marker here as an indication of when the initial beat cuts out and it goes into the reggae breakdown. Because basically to really capitalize on the energy of that breakdown, you want to ensure whatever track you've been mixing this into, you completely cut out, so you get a really big impact once the breakdown comes. So these little markers that I have here just give me a visual indication of when that big breakdown's gonna come. So those are two really cool tips that I always do. And to be honest, just on the point of the playlist, like I always just add an ad, because then I can look at these sets that I've done. This is like a set that I did in Manchester. There's one for Boiler Room Brisbane. The newest one from some shows that I did last week. And it's more or less like updates in order of tunes that I know Boiler Room Brisbane was November. So I automatically know what tunes will be in there in comparison to some of the latest ones here. But yeah, these sort of tips just help me out every time I go into a set. Otherwise, some more practical tips. A massive one is looping. Obviously, a lot of the music that I play are like a lot shorter tracks, so you've got to be really confident in looping. So one massive tip I really like, in case, let's just say you are like getting towards the end of a track, or like this breakdown is quite short, what you can do, I'll just play it from here. So you've got the in-cue button here, and what you can do is literally hold it, and it will just give you a loop straight away. There is also the 4 and 8, but not all of the CDJs have them. And then you've got the cool loop buttons here where you can flick in and make it longer. So go from a 2 to a 4 to an 8 and so on and so forth. But it's really easy, because instead of having to panic and pick out the like beat loop part on the screen, you can just quite easily hold that one down and it will just loop whatever you've got. I'm always using this because then you can build the energy with the other track quite easily and just, you know, like mix straight in and just it's just like, it's very easy and self-explanatory, especially if you don't want it to go into the second drop. It just allows you to just work real quick. Another one that I really like is the slip function. I think it's quite an underrated function, to be honest. And the reason I like it is because you can just be like, you can have a track up and it just carries on. So if you want to like add a cheeky backspin and stuff, by having slip, it just makes sure that like when you do it, it's just going to continue playing instead of actually pulling back the track. So this is really handy. Like I like it like really gives indication of a transition, but the mix can continue. So that's a feature that I'm always using. And finally, this is a feature that I absolutely love. It's the beat jump. So the reason I like this feature in particular is because you can jump from different, like to different parts of the tune whilst maintaining the beat matching structure that's currently being played out, if that makes any sense. I could be butchering how I'm explaining it, but I find this really handy because you can just flick in. Do you get me? So like, it will stay beat matched with whatever you're mixing, but like if you were like here and you were like, actually I prefer this part, it will just move it and not fall out of sync with whatever track that you've got. And it's also very handy for when, say for instance, you're in the middle of a blend and you realize that actually it's out by like 16 bars. By hitting the beat jump, you can kind of get it to match up if you're trying to do a double drop and things like that. But I'm always using this feature. I find it super handy for like, it's got so many different like uses, whether it's like matching up double drops, or like if you can hear a particular vocal without the beat that sounds really good in a particular blend without having the overcrowdedness of the hi-hats and everything like that, you can just flick back and forth and just, you know that it's going to still match up with whatever you're mixing. But yeah, those are my 5 tips. Hopefully you find them useful, and yeah, thanks for listening.